Now, I want to talk to you about the GOP. There is a great article that is coming from the Blaze. The GOP is the problem, and it's spot on. We have Chip Roy coming up in just a little while. Stand by for that because we're going to talk about what did we get? What are we doing? What are we doing right now? But first, before we go there, I really want to congratulate Gavin Newsom. He has picked a new senator for California. And it's odd because she doesn't live in California. She lives in Maryland. But, I mean, that's close, right?
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, it's practically California. And it's Laphonza Butler. And I know what you're thinking. He said that he was going to pick a black person to replace
black woman.
Yeah, all right, right. Black woman. Thank you for correcting that.
Thank you, because
big distinction.
Putting a black male into that role would be disgusting.
It would be.
It would be a hat tip to the patriarchy.
Yeah, amen.
I think, or something
for that. Yeah,
something
now,
like that.
Now you pointing that out pretty much makes you racist.
Oh no, it does.
Yes, it does.
Everything is racist.
You have to remember.
Every thought you have is a KKK dream. Everything is racist. White supremacist extreme.
Yeah, your white supremacist thoughts there, Stu, are going to get you into trouble. Now, sure, she lives in another state.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
But she has a house in California. It's not her primary.
No.
She's registered to vote in Maryland.
Real woman of the people. Here.
Yeah, but she has a house there.
As most people do. You're going to have...
Right.
What, are you not going to have a house on both coasts?
Right.
How
It'd be like me running for governor in Idaho. I have a house in Idaho.
There you go.
You know what I mean? Why can't I
understand.
I understand. I am one with the people.
You sure are.
Yeah, absolutely I am. So anyway, now some might also point out that she also is somebody who runs an abortion, a really big abortion mill advocacy.
Hut.
Yeah,
an abortion hut.
Yeah. So and this abortion advocacy group, Emily's List, is very, very powerful in Washington.
Very powerful.
Very, very powerful. Very, very powerful.
And she's also a former union.
Another very, very powerful
thing. It's almost like somebody. If you need it, I'm just going to throw this out.
Yeah, throw it out.
This is still silly. I'm just saying this is a hypothetical.
I know, say it.
But let's
crazy.
say you were planning a future run for president and you need to align activists behind your campaign. Right. You might want to pick an incredibly powerful activist.
Gosh, that is no, Stu. That's
everything is racist.
That's racist.
Wait, it is?
Yes.
How is it?
You're pointing this out, and only a racist would see it that way.
White supremacist extreme.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Honest question. When did this start? When was the first time that a politician overtly said in advance they will only consider a black woman for a role? When did that start? Because that is, to me, I think super recent. Now, this used to actually be reality, right? Like politicians would get a job, right? And they would say, okay, well, we want to appeal to this constituency.
Yeah.
And they would come out and they would say, we wanted to find the most qualified person in the whole wide world. And we found that person who happens to have every characteristic of the voting base I'm trying to court. Mm-hmm. That did happen. But no one overtly said it.
Well, I think Obama definitely said it for the Supreme Court.
Obama did? I don't remember that.
Really?
I think it started with Joe Biden. I think Joe Biden was the first one to do it. That's my theory. I think Joe Biden came out and said, you know what? I will only consider a black woman for this role.
You could be right.
I don't remember anyone overtly saying it in advance before that.
There's two portions of this. When did it become okay just to say I'm appointing a black woman for the role. That's what I'm looking for. And erase, I'm sure there's a polyamorous Asian out in California that might have been that lives in California that might be very qualified. You know what
that's
I mean?
one of the first qualifications is living in the state.
Yeah, it is.
Usually.
It is. But anyway, but there's also you're racist for even thinking that that's not okay.
That's true. That's a whole nother glass ceiling.
But they
we've
have
broken.
to have both of them.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that started with me. I think that started.
Wait, you started this?
No. I didn't start it. They started it on me. When I said, I think that Barack Obama might be racist, or he has a deep-seated hatred for the white culture.
Right.
Okay.
I remember this moment a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I know you do.
Yeah.
I remember it, too, really well.
You do.
Seared like a brand. Anyway, and I couldn't believe that. I remember we said, when was the first time somebody who was pointing out racism was called a racist?
Right.
Remember?
That's true. I don't remember that ever happening before you.
Right.
Because people like Al Sharpton would throw out racist all the time, but no one said he was a racist for saying that someone else was racist.
Right.
That's usually just the claim you make. It's not. But that was you. That was how they treated it with you.
Yeah.
Because you said someone was racist, you were a racist.
And now everybody does that. Now everybody, when they want to shut you down, they just say, you're a racist for saying this is racist.
I don't want to say it, but trailblazer?
Well, no, I don't like that. No,
it's a term I think that could apply to you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the honor.
And on the other side of it, I glanced to try to find another example of this before Joe Biden. And people will like to say that Reagan said in a debate, he said, I look forward to naming the first female Supreme Court justice. It wasn't like I will only look at females for this role. It was a little more explicit than normal, maybe, and then it was Joe Biden, and Joe Biden came out and did it 57 times. He's like, I got an Asian for this role. I want a guy who's actually saying he's a girl for this role. I want a black woman for this role. I want 3 lesbians over there, 9 gay dudes over there. That's all he started with. But he did do it. The first time he did it was in that debate. Remember this? He was in a debate, and it was fascinating. And then this might be why we never really had a conversation about it. But it was March, I think, 15th, 2020. So, we were thinking of other things that week, I believe the next day was the 15 days to start the spread, or slow the spread is when we started that. So we never really had a conversation about it, but he just kind of blurted out. And all the reporting behind the scenes is that Clyburn, who basically handed him the Democratic nomination.
I remember now.
Yeah, went on stage in a commercial break and pressured him to say it on stage.
Yes.
To say, no, you be explicit about it. You say it's a black woman for this role.
Yes. And I remember that.
Right?
Yes.
And we never really talked about how all of a sudden it was okay to admit you were picking people based on the color of their skin. Now, in 1905, it happened all the time. In 1739, it probably was really common, but we all think that's bad, right? I thought we all came to the conclusion picking people by skin color was a really bad idea.
Well, I think the transgender Latinx who was left off that list is probably thinking it was a bad thing. Yeah, I'm thinking it was.
I'm glad you finally brought up that.
And isn't it interesting that it is the white guys who are leading the way? You know what? I'm really old. I'm out of step. I do think my radio is called the wireless, but I'm going to do what we used to do when I was a kid back in the aughts, right after the turn of the century, the 1800s turn to the 1900s. And I'm going to look for a specific race and make sure that I'm checking their bedroom as well. I mean, these white guys, why don't you get out of the way? Why don't you, Joe, if you believe this, why don't you retire right now and let Kamala Harris be our first black female president?
Yeah, no one wants to give up their own power for it, of course.
Yeah, of course not. Of course not. Of course not. But they'll make sure everybody else gives up their power. That's kind of the point, isn't it? Kind of the point.
And this goes to also in the same period, right? This is the George Floyd period that happens a few months after he says that.
Mm-hmm.
And that report of just 6% of new S&P 500 jobs went to white applicants in the wake of the George Floyd crisis, which is remarkable. I mean, 6%.
So,
I mean, white people make up what, 70% of this country? Only 6% of these jobs. I mean, like, that is just blatant racism.
So,
right? Like, I mean, it's now look. I mean, maybe you want to give me the argument that suddenly only minorities were good at jobs at big companies. I mean, you can make the argument. Like, we can certainly make the argument in the NBA.
I'm going to show
where that comes true.
I'm going to show you how in real life with companies that you know, how this turns out. So here's what happens. Talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he told me about somebody who works at Disney. And they're in charge of, fiscal responsibility and everything else for all these movies. And they were told that on this project, you need to hire a black person to fill this role. I don't remember what role it was, but it was a big role. And literally, this woman said, there is only one African American in the entire industry that does that. And it's an important role, or everything could go to hell in a handbasket. They said, we don't care. Get an accountant to do the job. And she's like, but it's not the job of an accountant. It has nothing. An accountant can't do this job. They're like, get a black accountant and do it. They are going to lose all kinds of money. They have a chance that it's an absolute flop. This is why Disney is going to sell off everything. They've destroyed their movie business. They're destroying their parks because they can't stop now. The inmates are in charge of the asylum, and they can't stop. They built it. That's what you get. Congratulations, Disney.